the Contenders. So no surprises there. Statvigen and Perfect should both be rolling out that one particular composition that a lot of teams, especially the full Korean ones, of which in Pacific region in Group A is 5 of. Both of these teams are Korean, obviously. As we are starting to see a lot of Widow Genji, and the general strategy with that is your Widowmaker, even with a body shot, puts someone low HP, and the Genji dives in, collects a kill, dashes back out, and did see a little bit of that a lot earlier into the season. It has been a bit of a staple strategy now for a decent number of teams.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because a lot of how you play Widow in Overwatch, or at least successful Widows, seems to be about getting those headshots, right? About taking someone out of the fight immediately in one go. So it's almost like they're not as confident in their Widow if they're trying something like that. It's a good insurance policy. Yeah, I guess so. It's like either get them with a headshot or finish them off with a swift strike. One way or the other, we've got your number.
Right now, Statvigen's looking to collect a few numbers. Perfect's going to get the first one. And expect Leo to get resurrected back into the fight, and that's going to be one less res for at least this opening engagement. Creative's got to watch his own HP, but there is a lot of space being taken by Machi so far.
Yeah, both snipers just sitting at the back here, looking at all those angles, trying to cut them off, and we do see both of the tanks on the point with a lot of healing here, which is going to make it tough for Machi to isolate someone, and they look to do it for the healers first off.
Well, Leo did go quite deep there. He took a long time to fail to get a kill, which is a little bit unfortunate. He does have teammates that were able to secure it for him, but it's meant that it's gone to a 2-2, and rather now 3-3 advantage to currently nobody until Monster Shield did get that resurrection. But with that though, let's see DJ Gon go down as well, and Machi with the player, or rather with the spawn advantage, should be looking to take this fight, especially with Creative using the Transcendence.
Yeah, and they're so close to getting that first tick. They're not going to quite let them get them with a double kill with the self-destruct here. That's going to put the fight way back in the defender's favor. Monster Shield all of a sudden repelling Machi off the back of a great ultimate from AshVK.
AshVK pulling the ace card out from under the sleeve there. We're going to see something else though. Shui does have a blade, and this could be their own trump card if he plays it correctly. You'd say with a triple kill, it's definitely looking pretty good so far. A cap definitely into the works. Second tick should be coming on through, and not expecting Monster Shield to come back and defend this.
Where does the man get balls that big to go in for a Dragon Blade like that? I mean, they've just lost a bunch of members, and Shui just says, hey, whatever, I can just get 3 kills with my Dragon Blade. That is an incredibly proactive and just it's such a ballsy play there, and he pulls it off, and they get the first point almost immediately. What confidence from the man.
Certainly a very clutch player, right? Because Machi needed something like that to complete the cap, and with it, Shui actually awarded himself a free hero change, already used the ultimate, so gets to change up to Farah for no loss. Crazy to go into the Hanzo as well, so double sniper out from the defenders to deal with at least Shui over here, but currently it's going to be a Nev going down first, and I do believe he's probably a little bit too far forward to get resurrected back into the mix.
Yep, Shui going to go onto the back lines right now. They managed to take down Beppo, and he's on top of League J Gon now. This is looking really great for the attackers here, just really putting the foot in after having such a quick turnaround on that first point.
Shui's been pretty hard to deal with. You see him specifically going for his counters there. He himself taking down Perfect, who was on the Widowmaker. Now this kind of last-minute Transcendence to buy a bit of time for Monster Shield to collect themselves back into the point. No kills with it though. They buy themselves the time, but they need to get themselves the kills to actually win this defense. More ultimates coming online for Machi, and members are just going down so quickly on the Monster Shield side. You're not seeing too many respawners now either. It's been AshVK with the attempted self-destruct, but attempt is about the best way to describe the result of that.
We got Doomfist coming in here. The stall heroes are coming out. Unfortunately, hasn't managed to introduce anybody to a wall just yet, and that's the only reason really why you bring out Doomfist in these last-minute situations. And it looks like Machi are just gonna have a clean sweep here. 4 minutes and 18 seconds in the time bank.
And it's not quite a one attempt push. It was technically onto B, but the A point took a little bit of time, took a little bit of convincing for Monster Shield to relieve it. But when that did happen, and with Shui's successful Dragon Blade victory on that A point, then switching onto a 5 that was surprisingly difficult for Monster Shield to deal with, Machi just continue rolling on through, collecting player advantages, severely putting Monster Shield on the back foot, and Monster Shield failing to recover from that position.
Yeah, it felt like Monster Shield, so obviously Perfect was on the Widow, but that is what you want to be countering Shui's Pharah, but because the rest of Machi got in there so early, you know, Shui was a little bit behind, he changed over, went back to the spawner and changed it over to the Pharah, and the rest of Machi just said, oh, don't worry, you'll catch up. Don't worry about it, mate, we'll see you eventually. So they're already causing mayhem on point B when Shui gets there, and as a result, Perfect doesn't really have a good sightline to deal with the Widow. Maybe he could have gone for a grapple shot or something like that. Either way, he doesn't find the space to do that, and they just get collapsed on as a result. The one thing I find funny was from Shui doing that Dragon Blade, like, if you were right and he was only pulling that out because he wanted to switch over to the Pharah on point A or point B, regardless of what happened, and then it actually turns out that he wins the point with it, man, what a confidence boost that would be.
And for Monster Shield as well, they kind of lose the opportunity to deal with Shui's Pharah later on when they go into desperation mode, bring up the Doomfist and the Tracers, which you did see from Crazy and Perfect. You started with a Hanzo and a Widow, which would probably be the ideal picks to deal with Shui, and once you go into Doomfist and Tracer, well, suddenly, if you couldn't kill him before, you're not really going to have a better chance of killing him then. So Monster Shield just kind of digging themselves deeper into a bit of a pit, and now onto their own attack. Can they climb out is the big question.
Well, Monster Shield, they had such a fantastic start to the night, but Machi are just getting better and better, it seems. Perfect going for exactly the same angle as Staphagen went at the start of Machi's attack, so they know what's up. They're not going to fall prey to that one. The jump shot misses as well, and we're just seeing the tanks healed up by those healers stay on the point. This is pretty much the same defensive setup that Monster Shield went for.
It certainly seems that way, and Machi getting better and better, I feel, so applies to their season in general so far. They just haven't looked any worse, and currently, you'd say with those picks coming online that Machi definitely are in control right now. You say, Genome, that Monster Shield had a pretty good start to the evening, to the match itself. They also had a pretty good start to the season, and that too is starting to fall apart for them.
Well, it could be the story for tonight as, wow, even Burst managing to get off the res there to get Leo back into the fight, and they're going to have all 6 members ready to go as soon as Monster Shield pile in here. There's been a little bit of a change, Crazy over to the Brigitte. So as we were talking about at the start of this map, you can see Brigitte come out with these dive comps at some times. It's very good to lock down a Tracer and all the tanks. It can also be used to get on top of those Winston and D.Va and allow your teammates to burst them down while you shield bash and lock them into place.
We'll see how Monster Shield can get into combat here, because that's the most important thing to really enable Crazy's Brigitte pick and get the maximum value here as well. Continue the brawl to the point, really support their tanks is probably the game plan here for Monster Shield. Creative going down without using the Transcendence is going to absolutely suck for Machi. They really wish they were able to use that right now, because Monster Shield coming up on some very, very big ultimates. Creative does get himself back alive, courtesy of the Resurrection, but you'd say this Transcendence probably a bit of a waste.
Well, they've got the rally to go with now on the side of Monster Shield Korea, so they have managed to beat back most of Machi. They've got a very good position on the point right now, and they've also got a lot of ultimates, so it seems like point A, yep, definitely theirs, and the more important thing is Machi don't have much to go with here on point B, and they're going to be up against 4 ultimates. Creative, what are you doing out that far?
I don't know what's going on. I think he's trying to go fishing or something.
As well.
This is getting really out of hand right now. This Machi defense is about to be non-existent if this starts to continue for Monster Shield. Continuing to push on through. Ultimate still ready and banked up, ready to be withdrawn here. More members from Machi are going to go down. Character changes, hero changes. Burst going to try and retrieve this fight, possibly with the Lucio. But this ticker's just going through. Another kill on the self-destruct means a super fast cap for Monster Shield. And we thought, Genome, that Machi had a pretty good run of Volskaya. Well, Monster Shield just beat them by over a minute.
That defense
under a minute. Under a minute just.
Oh, yeah, it's a minute. I mean, you know, we thought Machi had done very well there to get the 4 minute
57 seconds.
Thank you, AVRL. That's yeah, we've got to be exact on this broadcast, right? We don't need to have any of that. But that was such a cringe defense, you know. Like I've seen emoji usage from my 55-year-old aunt that was less cringe than that defense, AVRL. They really shouldn't have had I mean, I guess the Widowmaker wasn't out in front, but Creative had absolutely no right to be there. If you're going to poke with someone, if you're going to look out for information, you know, use your Winston, use your Diva. Why would you use the least, literally, quite literally, the least immobile character on your team? Every single other hero there has some way to move around except the Zenyatta.
I'm going to say that was probably a genuine mistake coming out from Machi. No way they were legitimately thinking that was the play to make. I think Creative must have...
But why was he there?
Well, it's a very good question, Genome, and to try and justify it, to give him and the team the benefit of the doubt that, you know, it was just a genuine mistake, I'd have to say he probably wasn't on the same page with what his team was wanting to do, got himself caught out, and we also saw the wasted Transcendence as well on that A defense, so things are not going too well for this player so far. It may end up costing Machi if they're not too careful. Perfect, gonna get the first pick.
Well, with 4 and 5 minutes in the time bank respectively for these guys, at least they've got time to make amends. Overall, there's more than enough time for both of these teams to cap out fully again and just shore up their defenses a little bit. Obviously, the attacks from both teams coming out quite impressive, and the defenses a little lackluster.
The attack from Monster Shield was a slightly more impressive one, but for Machi right now, time for redemption perhaps. Shui was the big hero of that last A push that awarded them with a pretty decent time bank, so can he be that same hero again? Stanford unfortunately going to find his demise for the second time in this time bank attack. They do give themselves a resurrection and a player trade, so perhaps now with the player advantage, Machi finally able to get some progress on the A point.
Yeah, Stafford getting the res out there from Burst, who immediately pulls out the Valkyrie, trying to keep people alive. Shui on the back line, trying to deal with the enemy Mercy there, but doesn't quite have the Dragon Blade up yet, so can't just dash into the sky. A great pick there from Stafford is going to do it for him.
It doesn't seem like Crazy's going to fare too well either. Had a lot of pressure onto him. Judo did lose his mech, and we are seeing some trades coming back the other way now. Monster Shield are going to try their best to hold on to this point. What can they do? Because Machi still have so much left to use. Members are closer for respawns as well. With the resurrection in, that is going to be a play trick because Lee gone. The battle, Lucio fights too. Oh my lord.
Nice little snipes there from Lee Gone. Obviously, Burst was a little bit of a freebie for him. Going for the resurrection means he's a lot easier to chain those headshots together with the Sonic Amplifier. As a result, Machi, it didn't really achieve all that much in the end. We do see the respawns coming in here, but unless Perfect pulls out a bunch of headshots in a row, which is going to be very hard with monkey lasers in his face, it does look like Machi are going to take point to A here. And unlike last time, the ultimate economy is actually pretty even.
It's still definitely in the favor of Machi though, and they were able to get that due to the fact that Monster Shield were attempting somewhat futilely to hold on to that A defense, fed a lot more extra members that I'm sure they'd be happy to. Shui with the blade back and available now. Creative, another chance to properly use this Transcendence. He's going to be able to get in there. It's going to be the Dragon Blade combo. We'll see what Shui can get done with this because it is a counter Transcendence coming up from Beppo on the other side. And with that as well, Ash VK, the second double kill with the self-destruct that we've seen in this game, should be able to save Monster Shield. This should be able to allow them to hold on to this B defense, at least for the time being.
He pulls out another pair. This man should get on the poker, I reckon. He's been done very well with his self-destructs so far, and that allows Monster Shield to just take a breath, to calm down, and to get their defense sorted, because that's what neither team has been able to do here on point B so far. Both teams have just been flustered as the attackers have come in and just really capitulated straight away. So finally Monster Shield gets set up here.
We'll see if Monster Shield can rewrite history as well. Previously on this defense, they lost to Shui's Farah. This time around, they are set up to deal with it. They know it's here now, and you'd expect for this Monster Shield team to be able to have resources to finish him, but it's actually going to be Shui taking down his one and only true counter, Perfect onto the Widowmaker. With that, you got to say, Monster Shield not looking too happy, but looking a lot happy after those string of kills.
It's interesting, isn't it, AVRL? Because if this was my first game of Overwatch that I was watching, I would think that the Farah counters Perfect. He's just, every time he just goes straight for him, dives on top of him, throws a couple of rockets down, and Perfect hits nothing. it should be so easy for him to... the Pharaoh should be scared of him, AVRL, and instead he's the prey.
Well, that's the thing, right? You got to take down the one counter that can really be the thorn in your side, and if Shui can do that against Perfect, he gets a lot of mileage. He's actually going to swap back to the Genji, so likely doesn't want to have to deal with that Widowmaker long term. And well, for Monster Shield as well, Perfect knows, okay, don't need to counter out the Pharah. Decides to go on to the Tracer himself. Final seconds here on this offense until the timer does run out and go into overtime. Double Transcendence used on both sides. And for Machi, they need to find some picks quickly or this push will not go too well. Beppo down, Lee Jae-gon attempting to find a resurrection, but under a lot of pressure himself. He will also go down. That means no more support from Monster Shield. You got to say, perhaps no more DPS as soon as well, because Perfect did take a lot of damage, and suddenly the tanks are no longer fit for this defense. No more Monster Shield players. This should be a full cap.
Yeah, Shui's even got the Dragon Blade ready to go here. Crazy could get back in time with the rally. It's possible he got so much of his ultimate achieved in that last fight. Beppo is actually going to get taken out despite his stealth, and now we've got the Dragon Blade coming out from Shui. It's going to deal with the last members. Crazy doesn't even make it onto the point, even with that speed buff from the rally ultimate.
And Machi able to get the better of the Transcendence trade. Again, both Zenyatta's there use the ultimates. But it was Beppo going down, Creative staying alive. We see Lee Jae-gon, the Mercy player from Monster Shield, attempting to find that res onto Beppo, which would have put their numbers back in to at least an equal state with the attackers. But he himself got caught in a bad place. And suddenly when both your supports are down, your tanks and your DPS players are hung to dry, left to hang out to dry essentially. And for Machi, well, that's exactly the kind of offense that they need to complete this map. They use the entirety of their time bank time, but they got the job done.
Yep, they're not going to be bothered at all that they went into overtime to achieve that one, because getting the 2 points is definitely something they can be proud of. 5 minutes though, you've got to remember the team with the larger time bank is always the one going second. So with 5 minutes and 15 in the bank, it is Monster Shield Korea who will be attacking second here, and what they're going to do is they're going to hope. The best case scenario, I guess, for them would be to cap out point B with at least a minute left, and that'll give them a free attack at point A to finish it off. But they are going to have to cap out both entirely, AVRL, if they want to stay in the game. Going for that first attack, you wouldn't think that might be a problem.
Well, I'll tell you the good news for Monster Shield is that they managed to get the entire Volsky map capped out in 2 minutes and 45 seconds in their original attempt. So if they can manage to do that again, which is definitely a bit of a tall order, they will have a very, very good shot at entirely winning this map. But the work has to be done. The Machi are no slouches themselves. Monster Shield are going to take a fast approach. Not wasting too much time here. Finding Shui early is a very good pick, especially when Burst is on all the way to the other side of the map. A decent number of responses from Machi though. This could be the end of the Monster Shield push for their first attempt.
Yeah, Machi seems to be holding strong for the moment. They really chased Monster Shield down. It looks like they were, you know, trying to come around the back, really split the defense from Machi Esports, make them divide their resources, and then conquer afterwards. But conquered was what happened to them instead. We see AVRL, ooh, just get out. And if the mech had have gone down while she was over that icy water, you can be sure that she would have met an icy death. But in the meantime, she's just going to give 550 ultimate charge of healing over to the healers from Monster Shield there.
Discipline to not take the health pack there, but Monster Shield,
yeah,
some small victories in terms of at least small ultimate charge. They need to be able to convert that into an actual cap if they can help it. Statford getting pressured out by AVRL. Brilliant first pick going the way of Monster Shield. Creative now with this Transcendence, got to keep the remaining members alive, at least for the time being, but Machi need to equalize these members because they are starting to drop fairly quick themselves. 4-4 now. Monster Shield still with spawn advantage, so note that one. But no amount of spawn advantage is going to be enough if they just don't have the members to keep this offense going. And it seems like Machi is starting to get the edge right now, especially now Shui coming up with the blade is low, but gets himself one kill. One kill may be enough for Machi to maintain this defense. Possibly though, don't want to speak too soon because Nev did manage to get himself that trade.
Yeah, Shui just couldn't find a place there where he had the requisite support from his Mercy or his Zenyatta to really pull the Dragon Blade out. And, well, Crazy almost finds out the same problem there, but at least he manages to clean up a couple of kills here. The grapple just coming out in time for Staffagin so that he can avoid Crazy's Dragon Blade. But you can see he had the Dragon Blade ready, and he was just like, no, I'm on 30 health, I can't pull it out, or I'll just lose the ultimate immediately. But it's Lee J gone, who comes out and finishes the last couple of kills, and we'll move them on to the second point. 3 minutes and 13 seconds as it ticks over, and they do have a sound barrier that they can just get right up into the face of their opponents here.
Well, I'm very impressed by Lee J Gon so far, a bloodthirsty Lucio support player. And we haven't even seen the Lucio buff come into effect just yet. Through even the sound barrier, Crazy does go down, and Nev to follow straight afterwards, and that is a sad, disappointing push. Ultimate was committed in there as well. And for Machi, pretty easy, well, not necessarily easy, but definitely a convincing fight win. Especially when you consider that Machi, or rather for Monster Shield, came in with such speed and vigor, and again, the sound barrier should have given them enough buffer to get themselves the first pick, but that just didn't happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to see out of them. I wanted them to get aggressive, use the speed after using the sound barrier, and get into Machi's face. Unfortunately, Machi was too there, ready to deal with, obviously, the defense matrix coming out, the healing being on point, switching targets when they needed to, and now they've had some switches to make a difference here. We've got the Mercy and the McCree out for Monster Shield career on the attack now.
Crazy did eat himself a shield bash, stays alive though with some help from Lee J Gon, now freshly onto a Mercy. Perfect, going to get creative. Again, creative just unfortunately not going to get that Transcendence out in time, but with the Resurrection, Machi will now be able to hold on to this defense, but with only 3 other members available to heal. Staffagin onto the sidelines, keeping himself healthy, takes down Crazy, Deadeye into effect. No pickups for the Deadeye, but Machi now with the spawn advantage should be able to overwhelm the attackers in due time. 1 tick already through.
Staffagin misses the flashbang, but somehow still manages to take down the Dragon Blade from Crazy, who's been so tilted by that he's switched off onto the Doomfist here, and it's a good start for him, getting 1 kill with the uppercut onto Judo, and also taking down Staffagin with the hand cannons here. Seismic Slam does land onto Creative, but he's going to finish off taking down the Doomfist there, and they're going to move on. And this is that scenario that we talked about, AVRL. 1 minute and 10 seconds left in the buffer means that they can't lose now. The absolute worst that could happen here is a draw. They've just got 1 free attempt at trying to win the map.
I'll tell you what, a draw would mean that we still don't quite have a leader in this series so far, because it is a 1-to-1 tie on map 3. It's now Monster Shield's game to win. Also, I guess, Machi's game to lose in the same effect. You gotta say Monster Shield can't really throw this opportunity away. 1 minute and 10, I believe, to cap 1/3 of that A point. But for Machi, we've seen them hold on to that A point for at least 110 before. We know it's doable for both sides.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of first picks come out from the Widowmakers on either side here on point A in Volskaya. And that could be the key, right? If you've got 1 minute and 10, you don't have much time to build up ultimates. You really just want to open up. You just really want to get an opening pick nice and quick. So Staffagin, he needs to be looking for that on the defense just to try and eat a good 20-30 seconds off. And Perfect, obviously, if he can find that, look at the Mercy, the Zenyatta up the back there, maybe even the other Widowmaker, that could be their meal ticket to winning Volskaya.
I'd like to expect that Machi do get a bit aggressive here, because that's one way to waste a bit of time, is to force the fight away from the objective itself. And for Monster Shield, the opposite would be true. They would like to just jump onto the point straight away.
Yeah, they really don't. I mean, it looks like they're being careful. They know that they've probably only got 1 good fight, and if they lose it, they will give away ultimate advantage. So they're just being a little bit careful. But here we go. They're going in, getting a lot of damage onto the tanks, and Leo goes down first. That's a great start for Monster Shield.
It's going to get traded back, but Monster Shield do get more eventually with Crazy back to the mix with the Resurrection. Things might start to go the way of Monster Shield, but they need to be able to maintain the rest of their members alive, which unfortunately right now has not really happened for them. Machi might have clutched this.
what a turnaround! I mean, they got 2 or 3 picks, I think, to start that fight with, and still somehow Machi managed to turn that around. Staffordgen on about 10 health there, 18. He manages to finish off. He goes back to get a health back because he's got no healers there to help him out. And with 8 seconds, they're just going to get back onto the point in time. Crazy with that Brigadier. Can he stun someone?
And Machi going to get back here at the same time as Monster Shield, actually, so they don't quite have a defender's positional advantage. Staffordgen going to look for an angle to the side. Meanwhile, onto the point, Sweep pulled out the blade. Lee Jae-gon goes down. No bloodthirsty Lucio this time. No supports either. Crazy is dead. It's just going to be Beppo trying his best. And his best is looking pretty good because he got himself 2 kills with the Transcendence straight afterwards to follow up, and that means Monster Shield at least alive for the time being. Again, a reminder, 1 tick is what they need. With teammate Nev picking up himself 2 kills in the primal race, they've done it. The 1 tick they needed, MSK, Monster Shield Korea, going to take 2-1 in the series and the lead so far in our opening match of the evening.
Man, Beppo, he's just so impressing me. This guy, every time they're looking for a pick and we're just like, oh, I don't know if we're not going to get it or not. Sometimes it's not the DPS that step up, it's Beppo. He'll find that initial pick, get a good headshot with the Orb of Destruction, and then oftentimes pull out the Transcendence straight away after to sustain his tanks on the point. So this guy is very much impressing me tonight.
It's him and Lee Jae-gon, right? Because when Lee Jae-gon's on the Lucio, and that duo of support players together just find kills out of nowhere. It's actually incredibly impressive. But right there, game-winning play, you're right, had to be Beppo. Finds himself a double kill, gets himself a Transcendence due to the fact, and then with the Transcendence, gives his team the advantage required to take that map win, take the 2-1, take the lead in the series, and suddenly Machi do look like they're somewhat onto the back foot here. Note that it's still technically 3 to win, 3 maps required to win, which leaves Monster Shield at match point, and Machi got to be the ones to try and catch up.
Yeah, so we will go on to a 5th tiebreaker map if we do get there. It would be a control point map, and as we saw at the start, that's where Monster Shield seems to be, you know, the real dominant force, don't they?
Yeah, if we get there, or Monster Shield can clean this one up 3-1. They could win the escort, and then we don't even go to a map 5. They would certainly prefer that option. Machi are going to have to go to a map 5 if they want to rescue this match currently. And we did say in the pregame here how much of a mix-up it would be if Machi actually lose, because Monster Shield would then kind of equalize scorelines, put themselves back at 2-1, put Machi at a 2-1, and suddenly you got 4 teams all in Group A sitting on the same scoreline.
Yeah, Mega and New Paradigm, unfortunately, sitting down the bottom, but we'll get to see, you know, which one of them perhaps gets a lifeline or just a chance at making it through to the playoffs later tonight. But we've still got 1 map left to see whether it is Machi or it is Monster Shield Korea who goes forward. Well,
Mega and New Paradigm would both love to see Machi win here because that would give an extra loss to Monster Shield Korea, which would then allow the winner of New Paradigm and Mega to maybe catch up and overtake Monster Shield. That would be ideal for those 2 teams. We'll see if they get their wish or not, because if things go the way they are, Monster Shield could just take this one 3-1. Route 66 going to be the next map coming up for the escort pick. We've seen a lot of Route. We've also seen a lot of Rialto. We've seen absolutely no Watchpoint Gibraltar for the whole season.
I wonder why that is. As we've got, they all sort of favor a lot of snipers. You know, these escort maps tend to have those very long open sight lines, though interestingly, especially when you look at around, you know, just look at the general meta, other regions, Overwatch League at the moment. You know, we called it a sniper meta already once tonight, but that's not what I feel like we're getting here in this matchup between Machi and Monster Shield. Their snipers definitely aren't the DPS players who are just grabbing control of the game and making it bend to their will. These guys are getting a pick here, here and there, but they seem to be, I don't know, maybe more sort of body shot than headshot level Widows.
I also believe the impact of the Widowmaker and the Hanzo is the kind of pressure they exude, the fact that they can hold down certain angles. It's the threat of the kill and the threat of the headshot most often that really puts a team on the back foot and having to force them to figure out another way to approach a point. So the kills are certainly nice, but even though we might not see a ton of kills, I don't think it would also be fair to discount the kind of effect that we don't see, that kind of hidden effect again, that threat of the potential kill that kind of puts teams off balance somewhat.
Yeah, it's a huge factor, right? And it does depend on what kind of angles these Widow makers are taking. I guess we can have a look at it throughout this map and try and nail down whether they're you know, trying to lock stuff down, or they're really just, you know, trying to be the hero, trying to get their name up on the scoreboard as much as possible. For the defense here, they are going to be going with that double sniper composition, not holding onto a Reinhardt, Rosaya, anything like that. No, they will go with the dive tanks.
This, by the way. Like, can they do it? This is now more important to me than the actual match itself. But I do want to say as well, look, I was going to mention, if Shui was going to stay under the Genji, that so far Machi have favored the Widow Genji a bit more, and it's been Monster Shield favoring the Hanzo Widow, but the Bastions worked once on King's Row, and for Machi, they're going to see if they can make it work again. Is this beta Overwatch all over again?
Mate, this guy is my favorite DPS player. He's gone from, like, you know, slightly less than impressive to my favorite DPS player in the SEA region already. Look at this, getting so much support from his tanks here. They're jumping right on top of him, but eventually he is going to succumb to the Storm Arrows.
What you do also see is Monster Shield taking some pretty nifty angles around to make sure that they can get the flanks in, but while that's kind of happening, they're also too spread apart. That's allowed Machi to clean up the stragglers onto the sides. Resurrection did come through for Shui as well. So the Bastion pirate ship on Route 66, the American pirate's going to continue rolling through Texas, and for Monster Shield, continuing to lose members.
Yeah, so it's a very fine line when you're diving on a Bastion like that, whether you can make it work. So they get their main objective done, which is eliminate the Bastion, of course, but then they lose a little too much doing that, and that allows Machi to come back in over the top and take first point. And even worse than that is that Shui's still set up. Well, he's not still set up, but he manages to make it all the way back to the payload there. And behind this Orisa Shield, getting damage boosted as well by Burst. This is going to make it very tough for Monster Shield.
So the thing here that does get a bit tricky for Machi is once you approach this B phase, Monster Shield have a lot more angles to play with, and they should be able to use that to their advantage. A lot of damage going to Shui, does get taken down by a Nev, and so far no defensive ultimates. Where was the Transcenders that time around? As Shui does get resurrected back in, but Burst no opportunity to get his own Valkyrie into play. Shui, you'd expect to have the tank mode out, he does, but needs to find the damage. Dragon Strike from Crazy onto the other side of the map is going to allow Monster Shield to get some positioning, but with the positioning, unfortunately, they lose both their supports.
Well, it's good that Shui's had a little bit of practice playing Pharah tonight, because he was having to shoot rockets from mid-air there, being just played with like a toy by Inev, who was smashing him around with the Primal Rage. They do eventually just get the better of the fight. Once again, Monster Shield Korea coming in hot, managing to deal with the Bastion, it looks like, but then just not able to sustain themselves throughout the fight. And once again, Shui's set up and moving on to this last phase here. At least if Monster Shield jump out right at the end, they don't have very long sightlines to deal with it. It's not like they can get burst down for very long before they make it onto the cart.
All right, well, the ultimates are available for Monster Shield right now. Beppo going down early should mean, though, that Monster Shield could struggle. That being said, Perfect finds the kills on both Leo and Shui, and that could be the turning point, but we need to see a bit more. We need to see the conversion here. If Perfect can get another kill, because away from this fight on the actual payload itself, the payload continues to move, Machi continues to push, Machi continue to cap, and Shui's back into the action. I've got to remind people that there was, once upon a time, back on the original Cloud9 roster when they debuted the El Presidente, a Bastion with double Widowmaker. This time we've only got one Widowmaker, but this is the first time we've seen El Presidente in a very long time, in over a year.
Yeah, and it was Route 66 that it was originally conceived of, right? This was the first map that we saw, just back to basics here in Pacific Contenders we are, and Machi Esports are making it look good. 3 times now, they've struggled starting the fight, and then they've won it in the end. We might actually see him use an Ice Wall to lift up Shui here.
Didn't quite do that, used the Ice Wall to the side to maybe get himself around the corner. Does get Shui frozen for some time, but not enough to actually collect that kill. Shui now having charged himself back up, another configuration tank form. Crazy even with this Junkrat. What we do need to see is if he can land that tire onto Shui. That would spell certain doom for this conversation for Machi, but to do that, he has to get the tire in the first place, and this cap is nearly done.
Yeah, and the maze down already. You can see Shui actually falling a little bit behind the card here just to give himself some space to work with. A good self-destruct will take down Ash VK's mech, and he's got the tank mode ready to go if he really needs to blast down those squishies one big shot at a time.
This is not looking too good so far now for Machi because they've lost 2. Tai coming through, does get taken down by Leo, so no dice on that one. Shui, if he can get a lot of kills with this tank mode, could do a bit of damage with the ice wall coming up in time. He's going to stop it, at least for this push. Creative Transcendence to maintain pressure, but look at that wall, completely locking Shui out, at least from one angle. And for Monster Shield, if they can get some more kills here, maybe they save the defense, but now they're starting to fall apart.
Yeah, there's so many creative ways you can use the Mei ice wall there. It's really just limited by your imagination, and crazy. He's limiting the amount of Machi team members that are on the payload right now. Great use of his concussive mines there. Gets a couple of kills. Leo and Shui just sitting there together. The defense matrix will go right on top of them to try and lock out a little bit of space for Monster Shield to complete this defense with. But now the supercharge is out. You've got, what's that, 300 damage Bastion rockets coming right at you.
And it's not just that, he's also got the configuration tank right, so you're absolutely right. It's supercharged, it's also damage boosted from Burst, the Mercy player. So much damage coming through from Shui. He got himself in super fast second configuration tank mode. Not even Lee J. Gon's amazing Lucio from maps gone past can save that point. And look, Machi did what they could not even achieve on King's Row, which is finish the map with the Bastion from start to finish. Shui did not have to change up once. Machi complete the whole map on that one composition. On King's Row, at least Monster Shield were able to fully reset Machi and force them onto a different comp. This time around, Monster Shield couldn't even do that.
No, and it was just the oddest thing. 3 times in a row, they start the fight well. Admittedly, on the first point, I think they probably they gave up way too many resources in taking the Bastion down. But at least the next 2 times after that, they had a great start to the fight. Got 2 or 3 people, and then they just couldn't bring it back from there. They weren't able to finish off the fights effectively. Machi always seemed to somehow just come out of it, reset themselves up on the payload, and just keep the Bastion train rolling. Well,
there's method to the madness here yet, Genome. Somehow, at least this time around, if you caught into the replay, Judo actually came through, swung by the side, and ate up Perfect's Blizzard. That was one of the big tools that Monster Shield could have really taken advantage of, but Judo just said nope, gobbled that one away, kept Shui and the rest of the team alive, and Machi just continued the rampage, and that is exactly the kind of clutch plays coming out individually that allow Machi to get a full cap out with the Bastion comp.
Wow, that's definitely a massive play. Our eyes are attuned to looking for the Graviton Surges and the Dragon Strikes at the moment, which are, getting eaten up by these hungry Hippo Divas. But the Blizzard, that's not the one you see all too often. So, wow, that's a huge play there by Judo. Either way, we've got fighting fire with fire here.
I got
Monster
questions.
Shield are going to bring it out for themselves.
I got questions about what Monster Shield are doing. Is this a practice strategy? Or is this like a tilt swap or something? Is this like what you just do just because, you know what, it worked against us, we're going to do it too? You gotta say though, as long as it's making kills, as long as it's pushing through, which currently it is, I'd say that Monster Shield could get some distance, but I also want to say that Machi have the opportunity to not make the same mistakes Monster Shield made on their own defense. Again, once we get to the second point, once we get to B, Machi can use multiple angles to assault this card in the Bastion on top of it. That's what Machi really need to take advantage of.
Well, Machi, they've obviously been the one, practicing and trying this strategy, AVRL, so they should know the weaknesses of it as well. They've seen it, I'm sure they've played against teams that have beaten them on it. Interestingly, they're not setting up on the card here. We see Crazy setting up on the high ground, and already the Diva's gone down, so there's no defense matrix to deal with it.
Well, it's actually a good play to be able to set up onto the high ground. That being said, though, Machi have penetrated the sort of corner defense anyway. The reason you want to set up in the high ground instead of the cart is if you're onto the cart, it's too easy for you to get surrounded. But now Monster Shield have that push, have succeeded. They would have been able to push the cart through with some supporting fire, the suppression fire from Crazy onto the back line. But currently, Machi, they've got enough picks to at least maintain control of this area. Crazy has a tank form, does pop that one, and with that, Judo's mech gets popped. Beppo back into the fight. Shui needs to get a lot done, doesn't get quite nearly enough done. And that means that Monster Shield, with some slight hurdles to overcome, do manage to at least complete this first section.
So Machi had a little bit of an advantage there because they were the dive. Wow, that was a nice pulse bomb to finish off there, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Because Monster Shield have already gotten that first point. Yeah, but Machi, because they're on that dive comp, they actually had a chance to get back there earlier than the slow, you know, the Orisa, the Bastion, those guys who can't really make their way back to the cart that fast. And there was a little window, a small window, where if they had got a couple of picks on Monster Shield there, they probably would have been able to maintain that defense, but they don't do it. The tank ultimate comes in, and at that point, it's Monster Shield's game, really. So Machi Esports, they are no longer having to deal with the Bastion. They have switched it off.
The discipline is good here for Monster Shield again. This is a difficult point to make the Bastion work. And I feel like Monster Shield understand that better than most, having so unfortunately have failed their own defense, but can they succeed on this attack where they did fail previously? Self-destruct, not going to find any targets. I lie, it did get Judo's mech. A bit of a late kill coming through onto the kill feed. For Machi Esports now, going to have to fall back ever so slightly. Can't get themselves any resurrections, no mech for Judo, still in some baby D form. Is going to go down. A resurrection is available for Lee Jae Gon though, so Monster Shield with this kind of momentum, I'm not really seeing if Machi are able to push back, and I suspect that they're not going to be able to. Far too many members are dead.
No, they've got that extra healing, having the hybrid out there. They've got Brigitte, which means if Monster Shield can just sustain themselves on the point for a little longer, then Machi Esports can, you know, start getting those picks. That generally the fight is going to go in their favor. You want to draw the fights out with a 3 healer composition, because you tend to, you know, just eke it out one by one. It's hard to find the picks, but it's easy to stay alive. So Shui now, he's got the Dragon Blade on defense, and if he can get that out before Beppo gets his Transcendence up, they might be able to find an opening.
Beppo's low as well, but you sort of named it right there. Staying alive is very key for both teams, but specifically for Monster Shield. They don't have spawn advantage, and they have a triple DPS, and they're going to need all three. Sorry, a triple support. They're going to need all 3 supports. Crazy. A little bit late in the Shield Bash, but better late than never right now. Monster Shield still a player advantage. That player advantage is ever so slightly growing in their favor. A couple members did go down for Monster Shield, but they should be coming back online in a short time, and a lot of ultimates available. Rally to come out, already buffed up the teammates.
Yeah, it looks like it was a good start there from Machi Esports. They managed to get a couple with the Dragon Blade, finding that timing like we were talking about, but now it's even worse because Beppo is going to have the Transcendence up and he's going to have, you know, not all that much damage coming at him to deal with it. One will go down to the Dragon Strike, and that's a good start for Monster Shield here with a couple of ultimates still in the bank. Oh, what a great hot shot.
Yeah, Burst is having a bit of trouble right now. He's getting himself healed back up with the Transcendence from Creative. But I definitely need some support out of the Machi members, because they don't have a lot of players, and the cart is very, very near that finish line. Leo will definitely have to primal rage here. No way he can save this one, especially not if Shui has gone down. Stamfridge and the DPS player even coming back out as a tank onto the Reinhardt. Crazy still alive. The second rally in this C push right now. Valkyrie to support as well. You gotta think that Monster Shield are definitely gonna be able to cap this one through. Machi Esports just simply don't have the numbers to continue this defense, and wow, Monster Shield have a very competitive time going into time bank.
Competitive, it's almost even Stevens here. AVRL, these two teams are looking neck and neck. Apart from the first map tonight, it just feels like that's how it's been going, map after map here. So 6 seconds between them. It's a little easier for me to do the maths this time than on Volskaya, but 6 seconds. That's it's going to give that defender's advantage to Monster Shield, because they are going to have the golden rectangle laid out for them. They will know when they need to, you know, if they're getting right up to it. That's the advantage of going second, right? If you see the end zone there, and you're like, okay, well, we just need to commit all our ults now because we only need to win one last fight. That's why you get that advantage of going second if you have the bigger time bank. So Machi Esports don't get that luxury, but they do at least get the same amount of time, essentially.
And my big question here is, I am somewhat expecting Machi to come out with the Bastion again. Shui's already onto the pick, so that is something that you should be quite wary of, especially if you're Monster Shield right now. But again, the question comes into play is, have Monster Shield learned? Have they adapted enough to stop the Bastion from coming through? Because it is quite a rare composition, and the reason it's quite rare is that it doesn't work most of the time. But so far, it's been working pretty good for Machi.
Yeah, it's because it does somewhat rely on that element of surprise, but Monster Shield this time, they're ready for it. They've got the jump.
I hope they're ready.
And that is one of the best counters you can get to this composition. It breaks the shield so that other people can snipe the Bastion, but B, you can actually just get damage onto the Bastion without being visible to that machine gun.
We'll see how they do with this as Stephagen finds himself in the clutches of Crazy's trap. That's a 6v5 advantage. If Burst wants to go for that resurrection, I think Monster Shield should consider getting quite aggressive because supports are going to be quite important for Machi. Stephagen now respawned and ready to go. Crazy actually pushed out of position, but the D-Mech onto Judo means, well, there's no more defensive matrix, and you're starting to see Machi get routed just ever so slightly back to the base, and we've only just started.
Yeah, and now this is the point where you've got to definitely wonder about switching off the Bastion. They no longer have the cart, and there we go. We see they switch over to the Winston and the Genji now. They didn't have much ultimate charge to give away, and they didn't have the correct position. Unfortunately for them, they've only got a minute and 20 seconds left, and they've also down a lot across the board on ult charge here. Look at Monster Shield Korea. They are definitely in the box seat here to make a good defense. Unfortunately, Crazy going down early.
It's not going to be ideal. Maybe Lee Jae-kun can find himself a resurrection, which would be what Monster Shield really need because Crazy's quite close to that Riptire. He's going to have to take the long way around, and while that's happening, Machi do get a bit more distance, and a bit more distance does add up eventually. Not going to be a transfer available from Beppo just yet. Things are not looking too great on this defense after Crazy went down. Can the Riptire maybe swing the favor back in Monster Shield's direction? And that's a definite yes.
A resounding yes there from Crazy. Machi actually got quite a bit of progress on the cart there, so Monster Shield were focusing elsewhere. They didn't really have anybody dedicated to the cart trying to stop it, but what they did do is get the couple of picks that allowed them to then push towards the cart, and honestly the Riptire was just the icing on top at that point. So with 15 seconds now left in this map, it's going to be a desperate race to the cart for Machi Esports as they try and give themselves at least 1 point to work with on their defense coming up after this.
We'll see for Machi though, because they do have ultimates coming online, so you'd expect this is now their turn to really get into the action, and that's how you start it, with a bang. Judo's going to take down two, and it's two big players as well. Transcendence from Beppo going to try and maintain this defense. Crazy back in action. Now after that resurrection, you got to say it's pretty effective. Supercharger is going to buff them up really big right now. And Machi don't have the members, they don't have the damage, they do not have the firepower to complete this push. It will be Monster Shield holding on to A and now giving themselves the best opportunity to win Route 66 and finish the series 3-1.
Oh man, I would have been pumping my fist in the air if I was Judo. 2 kills with that self-destruct is such a great way to start the fight. And then they let the res happen. I guess they were kind of far away from the card at that point, so maybe it was tough to get onto Lee Jae-gon and really stop Crazy getting back into it. But once he did, oh, just instantly, as you said, that supercharger, I mean, what is that, like 180 damage, I think, the concussive mines. Well, I guess they do have the damage fall off now, so it depends how close you manage to get them to the bodies of the opposition, but just a lot of damage coming out across the board, even with only that one DPS player. And again, I feel like this just goes back to that theme of the Widowmakers not being the most important people on the team just for once.
Maybe a welcome change that a lot of players would be quite happy to see, perhaps. Especially with how oppressive Widowmaker has been lately. A Monster Shield might want to feed Machi back a little bit of that medicine. How ironic and how fitting poetically it would be if Monster Shield actually win this map off the back of their own Bastion after having been pretty much creamed by it on the opposite end when Machi finished the entire map with the Bastion. Monster Shield want to make a statement. They are not just interested in winning here.
Yeah, I was questioning the Ana pick there because the damage boost on the Bastion is one of the things that makes it so effective in this composition, being able to, you know, just really turn people to dust as soon as you see them. That's pretty much what the Bastion composition is all about. Shui's going to scout it out here. They know the Bastion is set up. They've got the Sonic Arrow making sure that nobody gets up in this top tunnel, and they're going to try and pull the Bastion off the cart. It does work, so he's going to have to get up there and set up again, and this just takes a little bit of time away from him being able to burst down those defensive shields.
Yeah, but we're not seeing Machi really take advantage of the situation just yet. The count has stopped. Shui did kind of touch the cap, or at least put himself in a position where Crazy could eliminate him from the map, and we're just starting to see a couple members being picked off one by one. And you wanted to see some Widowmaker action. Well, Perfect's here to remind you that he's definitely still playing the game. Also shield.
He loves tagging their feet, doesn't he? You got the Zenyatta before. Obviously he's been kicked to death by a Zen before. That's why he was targeting the feet.
Yeah, I think you spoke too soon. The Widowmakers are definitely coming back into the mix currently. Beppo, you'd expect probably to be resurrected back into place. Time is still somewhat in favor of Monster Shield right now. A minute 20 remaining, and Machi are not having a good time. Headshot was connected by Perfect, even from this long angle from the side. You gotta say for Machi, they're not finding any kills. They're not doing a great job. Crazy, what's going on? Double kill with the concussive, or rather with the configuration tank mode. This is a huge clean up Genome. Nobody left alive from Machi. You know what that means? It is the offense complete. It is Monster Shield Korea finishing and winning Route 66 with a Bastion. And wow, Machi, that has got to hurt, losing against that strategy.
And the series as well, right? That's it for them. Very nice work there from Monster Shield Korea. And I've got to say, the configuration tank, that's what Crazy had over Shui. Every time that came up for him, he was really nailing people with it.
I'd say that's certainly one way to put it, and with the kind of momentum they were able to build, even before the final cap came through, just finding picks that pushes Machi backwards, one pick at a time. Shui goes down, Statford goes down, suddenly Machi is just having to pull backwards. Machi then lose all their positioning. By the time they want to come back, man, Crazy's ready to go. And that man is insane. And off the back of that victory, look, again, we said it, 3-1 victory where Machi had such a good run on Kings Row, and you'd expect them to have an even better run on some of these other maps. Monster Shield pull one through when they really needed it.
Yeah, I mean, well, just the fact that they brought out the Bastion both times on the offense, they were obviously more than happy to fight fire with fire. It's not the most cerebral strategy, I suppose. There's definitely little tweaks you can make to it. How you defend the Bastion, how much healing you are putting on him versus your tanks. The defense matrix usage, all that sort of thing. But obviously they made it work. They came out. It's probably not something that they practiced a lot, unless there's some secret Southeast Asian meta I don't know about, where all these teams are practicing Bastion on escort maps.
Well, I mean, off the back of that victory, right, the other thing to consider, we did kind of touch up on this earlier, is the fact that we now have this 4-way match score tie that is down to map scores in terms of who actually comes out on top. And that's kind of bad news for both Mega and New Paradigm, who are going to play their match a little bit later this evening. In fact, next match is when they're going to play. And both of them would have much preferred to see Machi win. That's just not going to be the case. We're going to take a bit of a break, but when we do come back, as was previously teased, it is going to be Mega from Thailand versus the corresponding team on the other side. How did I even forget that? It's absolutely ridiculous. New Paradigm from Korea. That's the one I'm talking about, so make sure you stay tuned. Come back for more Contender-specific action.